It's the Whisky Wizard.
Hello and welcome to the Whisky Wizard, where we say that whiskey making takes scientific knowledge, an artisan's skill and dedication, and a bit of the wizard's alchemy of light, air, earth, and fire. Good evening. On past episodes, we've talked about the differences between blended Scotch and Irish whiskey and Scottish and Irish single malt whiskey. Tonight I want to talk about whiskey blending. I admit that whiskey aficionados have often turned up their noses at blended whiskeys, and truthfully, I've been a bit in that camp. Still, by and large, blended whiskey spirits still outsell the other categories. Why is that? And one of the more revered and quite pricey whiskey brand offerings, Johnnie Walker Blue, is of course a blended whiskey product. Other blended brands like Dewar's Signature also have their expensive premium offerings. So why the bad rap amongst many big whiskey fans and purists? Okay, before we get into all that, let's quickly recap what we mean by a blended whiskey. A blended whiskey is the product of blending the various offerings of different distilleries with the addition of some amount of neutral grain spirit. For blended Scotch, its whiskeys must be aged at a minimum of 3 years. If it carries an age statement, that must represent the age of the youngest whiskey in the blend. Usually this blending stays within a whiskey category, i.e. all Scottish whiskies, Irish, or American whiskies. A Scottish whiskey that is a mixture of only single malts but no neutral grain spirit is considered a vatted malt. Some refer to a mix of only single malts as a blended malt. Johnnie Walker's green label is actually an example of a vatted or blended malt. Blended whiskey is most often a reference to Scottish whiskey to distinguish the products from single malt spirits. Single malt, of course, refers to a whiskey produced from 100% malted barley made at a single distillery. Blending is generally where these expensive single malt whiskeys are mixed with less expensive spirits. High proof spirit or neutral grain spirit with much less aging time is less expensive to produce. This is where the perception of less quality often arises amongst whiskey fans. Examples of blended whiskeys include Chivas, Dewar's, Pure Scott, and Johnnie Walker for Scotch, Jameson's on the Irish side, Seagram's and Kessler on the American home front, and Canadian Club north of the border. Besides reducing cost, the other reasons for producing a blended whiskey product is consistency. By expertly blending a mixture of whiskeys, the blender can obtain a saleable product that is highly consistent, whereby the consumer can be assured of the same tasting pour time after time. In contrast, single malts by their nature can vary in terms of aging time, seasonable variations during aging, different mixes of barrels, each one unlike the other, and a multitude of other factors. These factors make each bottle of the product much more unique and less consistent, although this is another reason for their attraction to single malt appreciators. Still, whiskey blenders are generally extremely well-schooled experts that earn their positions through years of hard knocks, serving under those that passed on the skills of the trade to them. In addition, they need to pass rigorous testing to demonstrate that they have a sensitive and discerning enough nose and sense of taste. So it seems some are born with the aptitude while others may never develop the skill, regardless of their desire, training, and level of effort. And blenders tend to stay employed because of the variability with single distillery products. The incoming products used for blends are always changing, and the blender must be able to sense these changes and make adjustments in response to maintain the desired product consistency. Blenders must be able to pick up hundreds of compounds when nosing and tasting whiskey. A blend making operation has a lot more laboratory fussiness involved around analyzing not only nose and taste, but clarity, gravity, for density and color as well. A blender may painstakingly balance a touch of smoky Isla with a softer lowland whiskey, and then enriching it all with the fruity elegance of a sherry cask finished Speyside. Then perhaps even a touch of a deep, spicy, rich Highlander, and so on. So in the case of a good many products, we can't say that blended whiskeys are not made with the same level of care and attention. It's the goal of consistency that makes blended whiskey so successful with consumers, I think. And yes, to some undeniable extent, it's the reduced cost of some releases from the examples that we mentioned earlier and what they typically offer the consumer. I recently watched a blender for Compass Box brag that their blended offerings are 75% single malt whiskeys, and so malt-based as opposed to most blends out there. Meaning, of course, most are high-proof grain spirit-based, and this is generally why malt whiskey lovers stay clear of them. Still, there are some revered blended whiskeys. Johnnie Walker Blue, for example, often selling for close to $200 a bottle. Is it worth that? I don't know. I would certainly buy something else for that much coin, but still, it obviously has its fans and folks seem to want to pay for it. In fact, we plan to do a future blind tasting test on the Whiskey Roundtable to put it to the test. A lot of drinkers like Chivas' high-end blend, and this Doer Signature that Big G got me for Christmas is, I have to say, quite a special dram that I keep looking forward to enjoying, no doubt about it. For a past milestone birthday, my wife bought me and some of my friends a private Johnnie Walker tasting event at a local establishment. The Walker folks really defended their blended products, saying that they use the neutral grain spirit as their canvas upon which they paint with all the colors of Scottish whiskey expression available to them that comprise their immense flavor palette. Well, I don't know about all of that, but we did have a really enjoyable afternoon. As I said, I did really enjoy some of their offerings. I can't deny it. As we've discussed in past Wizard episodes, in the American whiskey market, more and more contract distillers are creating their own blends of American whiskeys from a range of distillery offerings or made to specification products. So, okay, let's admit it, a blended product, just another way to express this thing we love, called whiskey. But if you are serious about whiskey, I'd recommend that you stick to the premium offerings out there and do a little research first. What they may lack in subtle variability and that unique one-of-a-kind expression, some surely make up for with a rich, skillfully crafted and balanced mix of quality spirits, providing yet another avenue of dependable flavor and sipping enjoyment. This is Douglas Dunbar, the Whisky Wizard, for the Whiskey Roundtable. Cheers, Slán Java, and now...